relationship among Vedic schools, uh, de- decipher- deciphered by the visualization of mantra collocation. Please.
Do you see the material? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Then start. So this time, I talk about some analysis using the visualization of mantra collocation that Dr. Natsukawa has just talked about. Sorry, mhm. Okay. This is the content of my talk this time. At first, I talk about what is mantra, and then I'll introduce the examination using the visual data of mantra collocation, especially characteristics of Yajurveda Sanhitas in considering relationship with the Rig Veda and Atharva Veda. At last, I'd like to mention some new points of view about relationship of the text and the schools while composing that text. And what is a mantra? Generally, in Sanskrit, a mantra is a sacred utterance used for rituals. Mantras have significantly important roles in Vedic rituals, as a priest recite mantras to invoke the gods and praise them as they pray for the flawless existence of nature. In a unique use of mantras for Vedic rituals, each ritual tool is given a symbolic role by reciting a mantra. For example, the priest affirms that a spoon for the offering is the god Indra's weapon, Vajra, by reciting the mantra, you are Indra's Vajra. Although some modifications were made as time passed, most of the traditions of Vedic rituals have been passed down due to the conservative attitude of the leaders. Mantras in particular have been passed down and practiced without change. This is because they are believed to be the words for communication with gods since ancient times. The Sanhitas are collections of mantras considered to be the oldest Vedic text. The Brahmanas contain the explanation of the rituals and the interpretations of mantras. In the Brahmanas, the same mantras from the Sanhitas are mentioned to define the timing of recitation and to explain the meanings. That is, the same mantras appear among different Vedas, as each Veda was composed for different contemplations. The traditions of Vedic rituals are generally maintained regardless of the different school of philosophy. Thus, the same mantra is often used in a consistent way among the different schools. However, there are some occasions when the mantras are affected by uniqueness of the schools. In those cases, different mantras could be used among the schools. For instance, while the Maitrani school is using mantra A, Kata and Taittiriya school could be using mantra B. These co-occurrence or divergences could indicate the relationship among the various schools. Moreover, in the case such as a mantra used in an ancient text, later becoming more prevalent among various schools, this could be material for analysis of the closeness of their relationship or the influences of their affiliations. Hence, we can see that the concurrences of mantras are essential elements for understanding the interrelationship among various schools and their growth. Additionally, there are some occasions when a mantra appears multiple times within one text. This is because the same mantra could be practiced in different rituals. In such cases, we could presume that those rituals could be connected in their origin. Or one of the rituals could be affected by another during that progression. Therefore, by analyzing the co-occurrence of mantras, it could provide us with information about the evolution of Vedic rituals. A notable resource for this study is the index of almost all mantras in Vedic literature. The book is a Vedic concordance written by Maurice Bloomfield in 1893. It is an index to almost every Vedic mantra and shows us in which text and where to find each mantra. An updated Vedic concordance edited by Marco Francis Cestini in 2007 is outstanding and practical as it offers electronic documents of the data along with new materials. We converted these electronic documents to Excel so we can utilize this information as our database to study the collocation of mantras and their interrelationship. Of course, it would be best if we could extract the electrical data of the actual text, actual language itself. However, the electronic data of the Vedic text are not yet available. We are on the way, so therefore we used this index as our database for the study. Now I'll actually do examinations using the visualization the focus on the Yajurveda Sanhita that are MS, Multiline Sanhita, and KS, and TS, and VS, Vajrasanin Sanhita. Dr. Natsukawa previously explained the tool. We are currently in the middle of the process of developing the tool that will allow us to evaluate the correspondence of the literature as one text is placed on the vertical axis and another on the horizontal axis. The parameter of the calculation is the number of mantras that are included in the text. At this presentation, we will be analyzing the characteristics of the text of Yajurveda Sanhita by examining the relations with Rig Veda and Atharva Veda, RV and AV, and compare the analysis with my previous philological studies. I would like to provide some explanations about the history of RV, AV, Rig Veda, Atharva Veda, and Yajurveda Sanhitas. Rig Veda and Atharva Veda were principally composed with hymns that Indo-European people made before and during their migration. And the leaders of Rig Veda were the most powerful figures to lead the development of the Brahmin-centered societies in the early stage. Contrarily, the leaders of Atharva Veda migrated further east at an earlier time. It is believed that they facilitated the merging with the indigenous as of native people. As the ideology of Vedic rituals became more prevalent in society, the leaders of Yajurveda gained their powers by utilizing their positions as facilitators of worship. In addition, they formed the process of ritual and instigated its meaning as they created their own mantras called yajas. However, the center of Vedic rituals was always a communication with the gods through hymn, and the language for that was only available for those in the lineage of the leaders of Rig Veda and Atharva Veda. This means that the leaders of the Yajurveda could not be involved with him in Rig Veda at the beginning. However, it is presumed that the leaders of the Yajurveda sought to incorporate the Rig Veda into their text. Later, there was an explosively widespread of Rig Veda after its completion as a canon, and probably after the establishment of its learning system. I believe that this went along with the flow of the Vedic Big Bang by Professor Mahadevan. Subsequently, Rig Veda became common knowledge among Brahmins. The leaders of Atharva Veda were not the center of the society, but by blending with the indigenous religion, the leaders of Atharva Veda obtained quite eccentric forms of worship and thought that also affected the leaders of Yajurveda. Nevertheless, it still took some time for Atharva Veda to become prevalent as one of the main texts in Vedas. When we examine how Rig Veda and Atharva Veda were incorporated into Yajurveda, the following parameters are also relevant. Whether their communications were close or not, the level of the completion of Rig Veda and Atharva Veda, as well as its prevalence rates in Vedic society, and whether or not the leaders of Yajurveda were eager to be faithful to Rig Veda and Atharva Veda. That showed the power balance of them among them. And now we are going to analyze the relation between Yajurveda and Rig Veda, Atharva Veda. This graph showed the correspondence between Rig Veda and Maitrayani Sanhita, RV and MS. Rig Veda in vertical axis in the left axis, MS in the horizontal axis and in the right axis. You can see that Rig Veda was intensely integrated into the fourth volume of Maitrayani Sanhita. Yeah. So here. And as an original role of Yajurveda, it was not necessary for MS to introduce a large portion of hymn from Rig Veda. In fact, MS had included only some of the hymn from Rig Veda with the forms which the priest of Yajurveda could use. In contrast, the purpose of chapter 4, 1014, called Yajnavalkya's chapter, Yajnavalkyas was to record the large body of hymn of Rig Veda. When we compare MS4, 10 to 14, these chapters, and other chapters, it is very clear that this position toward the Rig Veda has changed. The graph also indicates that some chapters rarely indicate Rig Veda, so no Rig Veda citations, very scarce, such as 3.1, Sautramani chapter, 3.12 to 15, Ashura Veda, one part of Ashura Veda chapter, and 4.9, Pravargya chapter, and so on. So, and a ritual called Agni Chayana. So here is Agni Chayana mantra, had a large collection mantra, but so few Rig Veda. So the first volume of Rig Veda is significantly preferred over the others. First volume it is orange color in comparison to the 10th volume, which contains almost the same number of hymns as the first volume, but orange, so more cited. And we can see that the first volume is favored, and the ninth volume of Rig Veda, ninth volume here, is about Soma ritual, very important. Also hymn about very important ritual that use extracted juice. Soma ritual is the use extracted juice from a plant that has excitatory effect. This is very important ritual in Vedic society, but the ninth volume were rarely cited in the Maitrayani Sanhita, even in the mantra chapters of Soma ritual itself. So mantra chapter is of Soma ritual is 1.3 here, but hardly example, hardly citation from Rig Veda 9. So now, this is a summary, okay? So next, we are going to take a look at the corresponding between Rig Veda, Maitrayani Sanhita, Rig Veda, KS Kartaka Sanhita, Rig Veda, Taitiya Sanhita, Rig Veda, and Vajasane Sanhita. So we can compare them to each other. The most obvious is a substantial resemblance of the overall structures between KS and TS. So this structure and this structure. And the outline of formation indicates similarity among KS and TS. So overall structure is shown by the outline form and the color, position, color. And you see the Maitrayani Sanhita is quite different from these both. And so such resemblance cannot be seen between MS case or the resemblance is between KS and TS, but not with MS. The most important aspect is that the citations from Rig Veda are dispersed throughout each chapter of KS and TS. MS intensively in fourth volume, but KS and TS so dispersed. And when we actually look at the context, this act of disparring seems rather intentional. So since the context on the text were ignored, so possibly this act was done only to make an appearance that Rig Veda was being dispersed. So Rig Veda are overall in the text. And so regardless, it is a crucial aspect that KS and TS, not MS and KS, share the same editorial policy to disperse the Rig Veda through other text. And there are no significant differences in the total number of citations from Rig Veda among the four texts. However, the different time periods of Rig Veda citations can be observed. Rig Veda was cited extensively at the end of the fourth volume of MS. Yeah, here. In contrast to the dispersed citation in KS, but the citation in MS as whole as equivalent to the citation in KS until its 13th volume. It is possible that the timelines of the completion of the outer frame of Maitrani Sanhita and the completion of the 30th volume of KS coincided. Similar to the fact, the KS, the citation from Rig Veda in the whole KS here correspond to the citation in TS until, until here, 4 volume, so 4th book. This could indicate that the timelines coincide between the completion of the case outer frame and the completion of the TS until 4th volume. After the TS 5th volume, the correspondence between TMS, between Rig Veda can be rarely seen. So you don't see the Rig Veda citation. And this could indicate the weakened influences on the Taittiriya school from the Rig Veda, possibly caused by geographical and societal factors. So probably. The formation of the citations in Vajasane in Sanhita is quite different from MS case in the TS. Along the whole, so can you see? Yeah, this. So the whole Vajasane in Sanhita, the citations from Rig Veda are constantly observed. In comparison to MS case TS, that showed inconsistencies of relationships with Rig Veda, depending on chapters, throughout VS compilation process, the influence from Rig Veda. How this shifted? We can assume that the leaders of Vajasane Sanhita already knew the entire Rig Veda from the beginning of the compilation of Vajasane Sanhita. We could state that the timing of the compilation of Vajasane Sanhita was sometime after the phase of the wide split of Rig Veda Vulgata. Then, now we will examine the relationship with Atharva Veda. At first, I'll explain the two branches of Atharva Veda, Shaunaka and Paiparada. So Atharva Veda Shaunaka is localized in central North India and Paiparada in western North India, and it's believed that Paiparada existed closer to Rig Veda as it is located more to the west than Shaunaka. And Atharva Veda Paiparada contains some suggestively modern vocabulary as it concurrently shows all the linguistic features. So new vocabulary and old linguistic features both. It is assumed that the time span of the compilation of Atharva Veda Paiparada was very long. When we examine the relationship of the four texts with Atharva Veda Shaunaka, this is between Atharva Veda Shaunaka MS with KS, with TS, VS. In the same way, we primarily notice that again, Vajasana in Sanshita, VS correspond to Atharva Veda Shaunaka consistently throughout the text, similar to the case of Rig Veda. This data strongly indicates that the leaders of Vajasana in Sanshita already knew Atharva Veda Shaunaka's Vulgata when they started the compilation. In contrast, MS, KS, and TS exhibit inconsistent relationship with Shaunaka, Atharva Veda Shaunaka among the chapters. Possibly, the authors of the chapters in these texts had links with Atharva Veda Shaunaka through specific rituals. However, when we compare KS to MS and TS, KS shows propensity of citing Atharva Veda Shaunaka throughout the text, so consistent in comparison to MS and KS. In MS and TS, we see the inconsistent of citation, but less inconsistent, so consistent in KS. And we assume that the leaders of KS were frequently in connect with Atharva Veda Shaunaka from an early period. MS shows scarce connection with Atharva Veda Shaunaka until MS 1 to 3, 1, 3, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, so scarce connection. And the citation from citation intensively in again for end of the text for 10 for 14. Yajna Albakias. And the data show that most of the stations in MS are from Atharva Veda Shaunaka 6, 7, and 20 volumes. And yet the intensity of the frequent stations is not so obvious in KS and TS. Yeah. So this is the summary. Yeah, Vajasana Sanshita already knew Atharva Veda Shaunaka Vulgata and MSKS-TS inconsistent relationship, but KS were more in contact with Shaunaka from an early period, and most of the stations MS are from 6, 7, 20 Shaunaka, and so inconsistency. Now we can look at Paiparada Sanshita, Atharva Veda Paiparada Sanshita. A small number of mantras are shared compared to Atharva Veda Shaunaka. We can see that VS Vajasana Sanshita was familiar with many portions of Atharva Veda Paiparada from the beginning of the compilation. Again, and amongst MS, KS, TS, KS show the most overall connections with Paiparada. The fourth volume of Taitya Sanshita, here, fourth volume here, yeah, here, from here to here. Fourth volume indicates a strong connection, relatively strong connection, and while MS 2.7 to 8 to 9 here also show the strong connection. These are the mantras of Agni Chiti, Agni Chayana, and my analysis of Atharva Veda mantras in my Maitreya Sanshita presentation 2019 in Zurich also validates that Atharva Veda Paiparada strongly influenced Agni Chiti mantras, Agni Chayana mantras in my Maitreya Sanshita when compared to any other ritual. So this is summary and smaller number, Piperada smaller number than Shaunaka. And again, Bajasan and Sanshita has little irregularity of stations. And so Agni China mantras chapter have strong connection with Piperada. So, and now summary, okay. The finding which accord with the previously studied philological analysis and the finding which lead to the new points of view. Although the compatibility between KS and TS has already been pointed out by other literal studies, we determined that they also shared the same editorial policies. KS and TS had same editorial policies. The chronology of the compilation of MS, KS, TS, from analyzing their relationship with Rig Veda and Atharva Veda is MS, KS, TS, this order in this order, from old to new. In the last phase of Maitrani Sanhita compilation, Rig Veda and Atharva Veda were extensively incorporated, perhaps around this time. The 20th volume of Atharva Veda Shaunaka was completed at the same time Rig Veda Vulgata, or its learning method, were also established. Thus, it began spreading explosively, that is concerned with Vedic Big Bang. In TS, the connection with Rig Veda and Atharva Veda faded away during the last phase of compilation. And although both Atharva Veda Shaunaka and Piperada were well known to Yajurvedic Sanhitas, Atharva Veda Piperada less relevant. In KS, its relationship with Shaunaka and Piperada were probably consistent from all the early time. In the older layers of MS, the connection with Atharva Veda Shaunaka were only partial. However, stations from Shaunaka were largely included during the last phase of compilation. This shows that Atharva Veda Shaunaka was prevalent at that time. It seems like Atharva Veda Piperada did not join the flow of globalization. So, I discussed here only small part of the large data of mantra collocation. We mean that the data as open source in future and open tool. So please try to find some interesting phenomena from the data, and we would be pleased with proposal to develop this data. And that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the presentation, Amano Sensei. If you have a question, please write it in the chat box. I have a question. If there is no question, we can.
Question.
There is a question.
This is
Yes. Yes.
Maria This is Maria Pira.
Yes. Hello. If I can ask, I'm sorry for the nickname, but I couldn't enter with my official mail, and so I had to enter with my personal one. So sorry. Okay. There is a strange nickname in it, but that's me. I would just ask two questions. The first one is, I noticed that you decided to show, for example, the Rig Veda data following the linear order of the books, which has nothing to do, of course, with the historical layers. And so the first question is, why could it be different following the historical layer? And the second is that this is more a problem I have. When we compare, we know that the different books or chapters have a different weight. For example, the second book of the Rig Veda is very small, while the 10th book is much bigger. So what to do with this? Okay, thank you.
It depends on the number of Rig Veda two book, second book is small, originally small. And for your first question, you are right. I'm thinking, I'm thinking too, we should this Rig Veda, we should order this Rig Veda hymn in the chronological order. You are right. So in the moment we have the vertical axis just following the number of chapters, number of hymn, but it is not chronological. So we should reorder, correct the order of hymn. Yes, you are right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have a question?
Samura-san.
Oh yeah, I missed it. Sorry. Kamara-san, please unmute your microphone and ask a question.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for fascinating studies. So my simple question is that maybe the most striking point to me in your presentation is that the citations of the Veda 9th book constitute smallest number, the smallest number in the Vajrayani or in other Samhitas. So my question is this: why this? I mean, why such important mantras, formulas of such an important ritual, some sacrifice, only quoted or only quoted in the smallest number, in the smallest, such a small number? Or do you does this study or can your study show some hierarchy of rituals? I mean, like this ritual A might be preferred to ritual B, or some rituals can be regarded as lesser or lower than others. I don't know. Do you have something to do on this one?
Yeah, I wondered too. So small number from Rig Veda 9, and so I don't know why in this moment, and this is my further challenge. So and this is this needs a philological study. And the data is so in this case, so starting point, so small number from 9th book. Then I think we go further with so philological study, and so this is next challenge. Yeah.
I'm really interested in it. Thank you.
Or have anyone idea why?
At least I have no idea. Some other experts might be able to answer. I don't know why some rituals, why mantras of some rituals are quoted in such a small number. Yeah, that's my simple question.
But my tentative my tentative opinion is the 9th book was composed later, probably. Is a possible answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you for asking a question. Does anyone have a question? if there is no question, thank you for. There is.
Last one.
Yes. Please. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's ask a
Thank
question.
you. Thank you very much, Professor Amano, for fascinating and beautiful slides. And I have several questions about the data set itself, because as the parallels or citations is not always identical, right? So sometimes there is a difference, you know, like it's parallel. So that I was wondering, like, how is there any ways to, you know, to make a different weights? For example, if it is a, you know, like the full parallel, exactly the parallel, the same wordings, then you can get 1 point. Or then if it's just some wording, but somehow reminds of that things, that is maybe 0.8, or that kind of things could be also made. And then I was wondering that this 1 point is actually the parallel or the citation. And the other question is that it is often the case that the Rig Veda and Atharva Veda, Shaunaka or Paiparada also has a parallel. So that, you know, if you say that, for example, KS has a parallel between Atharva Veda, then it might be also possible that this comes from the same passage from the Rig Veda. So does any ways to, you know, exclude, for example, like, can you say that maybe it would be also nice to have some exclusive parallel? I mean, not shared by another text. So maybe, yeah, I would like to have more, you know, like detailed data. So that's my, you know, impressions.
Yes, you are right. I agree completely. So in this moment, the data is so 1-0.
Oh yes.
So we treat only the so same station, same wording.
Okay, so no CFs or
no CF.
Okay.
And this is the limit of limit of the this data in this moment. And also, of course, I want to make better, so find better way to search mantras with parallels, of course. But so I have no idea in this moment, but I want to so find a better way to mantras to search mantras with so parallel wording, and also this this citation problem. So we don't know the KS cited from Rig Veda or from Atharva Veda, from Paiparada. This is also some problem. So in this moment, just analyze from the data, so parallel data.
Yes. So, but in this case, that what Natsukawa sensei gave in the hypergraph could be also helpful in the analyzing the relationship between the three, or it's just an amateur impression.
Yeah, I hope it's it works effective way.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.